हेलो फ्रेंड्स, वेलकम टू माय चैनल। कैसे हैं आप सब? होप करते हो आप सब अपने अपने घरों में बहुत अच्छे होंगे। तो फ्रेंड्स, आज फिर हम आपके सामने पेश हैं एक नई वीडियो के साथ। तो फ्रेंड्स, आज की वीडियो में हम बात करेंगे कि वो कौन कौन से फूड हैं जो आपकी किडनी को डिस्ट्रॉय कर सकते हैं। तो आइए फ्रेंड्स, जानते हैं। बने रहिए वीडियो में।
Let's talk about the 7 foods that destroy your kidneys. Your kidneys are simply amazing. Each kidney has about 1 million little tiny filters. They're called nephrons, and they have the ability to selectively get rid of certain bad stuff and retain certain good things. And with the 2 million nephrons you filter out 50 gallons of blood every single day. And so these kidneys recycle 99% of all of your blood. So only a little bit is released. And one of the big problems with your kidney is high blood pressure, because if you have chronic high blood pressure, that can really destroy those little tiny filters. Another thing that's even more destructive than blood pressure to your kidneys is high levels of sugar, as in diabetes. So all the sugar that's in your blood has to go through these little tiny filters. And then what happens when it interacts with the filters is it makes those little filters smaller. So now it can't filter. So now you're going to be losing sugar and losing protein in the urine. A couple simple ways to determine if there is a damage to the kidney is, number one, do you have sugar in the urine? And number two, do you have protein in the urine? Because if you do, that can mean kidney damage. And also the color of your urine is important too, because when the kidneys stop filtering, the color of the urine is no longer kind of an amber yellow. It can get darker, and it can turn actually a lot of different colors. But one of the most important things that the kidney does is activate vitamin D. And if there's damage with the kidney, you're not going to be able to activate vitamin D. And that could be one reason why people are very, very deficient. So we need strong, healthy kidneys to get rid of waste and to even retain nutrients. All right, let's start with food number one, instant noodles, like ramen noodles. So it is true that these noodles are loaded with sodium, but there's something more damaging about these noodles. It's actually a preservative, and it's called TBHQ. This preservative is very toxic to the kidneys. It can actually cause the kidneys to work harder, where you actually enlarge your kidney. And it also has the ability, in some cases, to produce cancer in your kidneys. Now, I just want to bring up sodium for a second, because sodium definitely is a problem with blood pressure. When you go to the doctor, they might say that you're salt sensitive, so you have to reduce your sodium. But the question is, do we really need to reduce sodium, or do we need to increase potassium, which is more protective? Because there's just as many problems with too much sodium as there is with a deficiency of sodium. There's a condition where a person is drinking a lot of water but not consuming enough salt, and that's called hyponatremia. With that condition, you can even create fluid retention in your body, which puts a lot of strain on the kidney. And also just drinking more water puts a big strain on the kidney, getting rid of all this extra fluid. So when people think, oh yeah, what's good for the kidney? Oh, drink a lot of water. Not necessarily. You want to drink when you're thirsty, but forcing yourself to drink tons of water without the electrolytes could create problems in the kidneys. And anytime you consume salt, always consume sea salt. All right, number two, Skittles or things like this. And I'm talking about things that contain a lot of food dyes. These artificial dyes are very hard on the kidney. The kidney has to get rid of them. Now, also realize at first the kidney is going to recycle a lot of that dye, and it's going to kind of go through your bloodstream over and over and over again. You don't want artificial dyes going through your body like that. All right, next thing is fried chicken. I'm talking about the fried chicken that you would get at a fast food restaurant. You put in seed oils at very high heats. So anytime you heat a protein with a carbohydrate, as in all that flour breading, you get something called glycation. Let me explain what glycation is. Here's some protein, here's a carbohydrate, and they get connected and they bind under high heats. So now this sugar molecule is stuck to the protein. Now this protein in your body can't work anymore. That's what glycation is. So let's say, for example, you took a test for diabetes called A1C. What they're measuring is the amount of glucose that's stuck to the protein, your hemoglobin, your protein in your blood, and it's making that no longer available to do its job. So if you have higher amounts of A1C, you have higher amounts of sugar that's connected to your protein, to the point where you start getting all sorts of complications from diabetes, okay, where things don't work. Because when the glucose gets stuck to the hemoglobin or the protein or any protein in your body, it clogs everything up, especially in the kidneys. And so when you consume something that's fried, what you're going to get is this junk that just clogs everything up. The next one is commercial bread. Now, the expiration on this was mid-July. Right now, it's September. And look at it's not even going bad. It's still soft. How can that be? Because it has preservatives, and it also has something called potassium bromate. Potassium bromate is really harmful on the kidneys. In fact, it's banned in a lot of countries except the US and I think Japan. And apparently it's carcinogenic in our bodies, especially with kidney cancer. The next one is soda. Okay, what's in the soda that's harmful for the kidneys? Phosphoric acid. Okay, phosphoric acid is destructive on the kidneys, not just from the phosphoric acid, but from the added sugar as well. And by the way, the number one cause of kidney damage is diabetes. Now, what's diabetes? Diabetes means the person has too much sugar in the blood. Well, isn't there some sugar in here? Yes, there is. And then also, why do they put the phosphoric acid in there? Well, number one, it's cheaper than other types of acid like citric acid. It can act as a preservative. It helps retain the carbonation, and it's an overall flavor enhancer. All right, number 6 is agave syrup. Agave syrup has been known to be even keto friendly, which it's totally bogus because 80% of agave syrup is fructose. Even high fructose corn syrup is like 55% fructose. Agave is 80, even in some reports, 90% fructose. And yes, fructose is low on the glycemic index, but all the fructose is metabolized different in the body. It goes to the liver and it overloads the liver with a lot of stress. So why is that so damaging? Because the metabolism of fructose is similar to alcohol. It also creates a lot of problems with insulin resistance, which is the precursor to prediabetes and then diabetes. And since diabetes is the number one cause of chronic kidney disease, then agave nectar is right up there at the very top of the level of irritating the kidney. All right, last one, cereals, even instant cereals. Why? Not just because of the seed oils and the refined sugars and the refined starches, but glyphosate. It's not going to be listed as one of the ingredients because legally they don't have to put it on the label, but they can volunteer using a different name. Bioengineered ingredients, okay? You might see that. That means glyphosate. Now, in certain parts of the world where they use a lot of glyphosate in agriculture, the workers who work the fields have a much higher risk of chronic kidney disease because of the heavy exposure to this glyphosate. The other thing to know is that anything GMO like soy, corn, cottonseed is going to have glyphosate on it, but also things that are not GMO like oats and wheat because they use glyphosate to dry out these grains during the processing of them. And so even though it's not GMO, they're still using them. So we talked about all the foods to avoid. Okay, but now the question is what to eat to improve kidney function. And for that information, you should watch this video right here.